professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Hi, welcome to the Sound of Gold. If you're new, welcome. If you're returning to our show, welcome back. My show is basically the Sound of Gold. We focus on music, musicians, music venues, music teachers, music schools. And I'm located here in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. My studio is presently in my home right now. That's where I am airing live for you. And I am a piano teacher as well as a radio show host. I've been teaching for over 20 years in Palm Beach County, and it's just something I've been doing for a very long time, and I love doing. I want to start off by talking about instruments. And I've played violin, I've played guitar, I've settled with piano, and I don't mean settle as in I guess you can take that different ways, but my love, my piano, my instrument is the piano. That's my instrument, my go-to. And when I have opportunities to play at venues, sometimes there is not a piano and I have to bring a keyboard, and honestly it's not my favorite thing to do, because there's nothing realer than, is that even a word, realer? There's nothing realer than the piano itself. I mean, an acoustic, a digital piano sounds good. It doesn't need to be tuned, but it doesn't have that quality and that sound as a piano does. And today, I'm so excited to welcome Tobias Hamilton from Hamilton Piano out in West Palm Beach. Tobias, hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for making the time today to be here on the show.
Thank you for having me on. This is really going to be fun.
Yes, it will be. It is fun. There's so many questions I have for you. And for our audience out there, I know you've had a studio, and I've known you over 20 years. And we have similar friends or that swim in the same pool that we swim in. And I don't know if that's weird to say, but I use that analogy. But we have this family, this close-knit family of musicians, and it's extended out to even people I don't know, or maybe you don't know either. But where you started, I remember your studio, and where you are now, it's just such a bigger transition. And the studio you have, please tell us a little bit about it. Tell us exactly where you're located and how people could find you. And I have so many questions.
Sure. So we're located in West Palm Beach, just one block north of Forest Hill on the east side of Congress at 1656 South Congress Avenue. It's called Palm Springs, but do West Palm Beach, you'll find us faster. Yes, you're right. We did start in 2008 with a small 2,200 square foot shop. And we were doing that during when the crisis was, the economy was at its worst.
Right.
But I still decided, hey, I'm going to try this, because I was kind of tired of working out of my garage and my father's garage. So I opened up and grew into 16,000 square feet. And then after that, bought this building 5 years ago. And now we're up to 30 employees just about. And we just keep growing and growing. And we are a fourth generation company. My grandfather taught my father and my uncle. And then I taught my son. My nieces are here. My daughter's here when she's not in college. And no one in my family had ever opened a shop. They just kind of kept their businesses separate and worked out of their own homes. But I wanted to, try it and see. And my dad says, don't do it. You'll the overhead's going to kill you. And I said, yeah. I'm going to try it and see what happens. And I said, I'll try it for a couple of years. If I fail, I fail. If I don't, I don't. And we didn't fail. So,
No.
you know, we're doing good, and we're trying to get back to the community in the sense is like, you know, we have our, you know, we do recitals.
Yes.
Eventually we want to add a recital hall and a recording studio and things like that, because we have the property to do it. And that will happen when, I don't know, but maybe the next time we do a video like this, we'll, you know, in a few years we'll have it started or whatnot. But yeah, basically we wanted to do stuff that no one else has done before.
Okay.
That's why we do a lot of custom built pianos too.
Nice. Now, do you play piano?
I do.
Okay. So, and I know, I'm sorry.
I wouldn't say very well. I took lessons as a kid from age 4 to 12. And when I was about 10 years old, you know, I kind of didn't want to do it anymore, but I was the son of a piano tuner. So it took me a little bit of time to tell my dad to get the nerve and say, Dad, I don't want to do this anymore. So finally, when I did, he said, you'll regret it. And I said, yeah, sure. I'm 12. You know, of course I know more than him. And then as time went on, I do regret it, because back when I was younger, I could pretty much play almost anything if you put the sheet music in front of me. But I got back into playing the piano when I was learning how to tune pianos, because to break myself from the stress of learning how to tune a piano, I would just start coming up with my own music. And that's what I did. And that's what I play. So it's, but that's how I got back into playing.
So I want to go into talking about the instrument itself. But before we even do that, you mentioned a couple of times piano tuning. So with our audience out there, there may be people that own pianos, that do not own pianos, but the idea of tuning a piano, what is it that you use? What is it that you listen for? And I know piano tuners, each one is a little bit different.
There's more than one way to tune a piano, like there is to skin a cat.
Right.
And for instance, the way I tune a piano is different than the way my father, my uncle, and my grandfather did. There's devices out there, electronic tuning devices that can be used. You can do it orally, you know, where you just use a tuning fork and set your temperament and then go through, do your octaves and unisons. But what technicians have to look for is basically your intervals, your partials, and setting a temperament. And if you use an ETD device, that's good too, but you still have to rely on your ear, just because it's a double check. And that's where I think the best tunings come in, is because not only do you have a visual check, but you have a hearing check, and you put those two together, you can't get any better than those two. If you just relied on one or the other, you know, that's fine too, but having both, in my opinion, is what makes the tuning the best that it can be.
So one time, this is some years ago. Thank you for sharing that. This is some years ago when I was, I think it was, I don't know if it was at this warehouse or the last warehouse, but you had a piano that was Lenny Kravitz's. Do you remember that white baby grand?
Yep.
And I don't know if it was that piano or the grand next to it. And it blew me away. And I use this, I share this with my students. You said to me, it takes 10,000 pieces, or this piano is made up of 10,000 pieces.
Between 9,000 and 14,000 parts are in a piano. More moving parts in a piano than in a car.
That is just incredible. Now, does that go for, let's say, like I have a vertical grand Wurlitzer. So compared to like a baby grand or a grand, is it just difference in size or difference in the amount of material that's used?
A little bit of both. Size, you know, you have different stringing scales, so you may have more strings. You're going to have more in a bigger piano, because they'll put more bass strings in, you know, on longer pianos. It depends to certain manufacturers add more keys to the piano. You know, like a Bosendorfer will have extra bass keys. So it, yep. So it just depends on the manufacturer too.
All right, and that's very interesting. So what other pianos are companies, because there's so many. I mean, basically, if I were to play this piano or a piano that you have in the warehouse, I mean, it sounds different. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to bring up to you is each piano has their own style. Like I know, like when Doug comes to tune my piano, he's like, this is a happy, cheerful piano. But then like I've had another piano before this, and it wasn't as happy sounding. And when I go and I play different pianos, there's just a different feel to it, a different sound, a different energy. And I can't, as a piano player, I don't know where that comes from other than maybe the maker.
So the tone of the piano comes from the hammers that hit the strings.
Okay.
The harder the hammer, the brighter the tone, the softer the hammer, the mellower the tone. And then you also have the touch of the piano. So the harder the touch, the more you have to play harder in order to get the sound out of the piano. So between your different touches and tones is how you get the sounds out of the piano, but it also comes down to the manufacturer. For instance, there are no two pianos that are exactly the same. And you could even take two pianos made side by side, and it doesn't matter who made it, they're not going to be the same instrument. And so my father had told me many, many years ago, before he passed away, that they hooked a computer up to a piano. And this was back when computers are not like what we have today.
Right.
And it spit out that a piano can produce over 100 billion different sounds.
Wow.
And the human ear will never hear all of them. It's impossible because everybody plays the piano different. You know, you play pianissimo, fortissimo, you play hard, you play soft,
Sure.
The chords, everything that you play, the different hammers that are in the piano. So there's so many variations that a piano can produce that the human ear would never hear everything that a piano can do.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I was, I think you heard in the beginning of my show, I mentioned there is nothing like the piano. The digital pianos, the plug-in pianos, call them plug-in. They're great for starting out with, but there's nothing like I mean, I'm not knocking. I think it's an incredible invention, and it's incredible to have that option because not everybody can afford a piano. Now, what on that same note, if someone were to come to buy a piano from you, do you have like a payment plan, or do you work with them on a pay scale, or is it like a set rate and then, either it's for them or it's not? I don't know if that's kind of a silly question.
Yeah, we have three different options. One is a rent to own program where they can rent a piano, and they can rent it up to 6 months, and whatever their rental fee is goes towards the purchase of that piano or another piano. We have 6 months no interest, or we have 12 months no interest, and that's all in-house. That we do. Our job is to make sure our customers get the right piano. It's not about selling a piano, it's about making sure they get the right piano. And you also have trade up value too. So if someone was to buy we sell Roland digital. So if someone was to buy a Roland to start with, and then they want to upgrade to an acoustic piano, then you have trade in value with us too.
Now, do you still do this? Because I think years ago you had checked one of my pianos, and I was looking to do a trade to upgrade the trade. So do you still do that? Do you still offer that? Like if somebody has a piano that they want to upgrade, do you look at their piano as a trade-in option?
Yep, we absolutely do.
And with pianos, whether you're taking a piano in or whether someone is buying a piano from you and it's being delivered to their home, is it a set rate for moving the piano, or is that included in the price of the piano?
We do,
listeners.
Sure. So we do charge for delivery. We have one price for local ground floor. A vertical is X amount. A baby grand is X amount. If it's going upstairs, it's additional, of course. If it's going out of our local area, which is Jupiter to Boca, it's additional. And if we have to crane it in, which we do a lot of times, or some kind of funky delivery that we do, you'd be surprised at some of the crazy moves that we've done. But we do, that too. But yes, we have a set price if it's local ground floor. But if we have obstacles in our way that we have to hurdle, then it's additional.
Okay. All right. I have a silly question. Now, you are, to me, and I'm not saying this for an ego boost, but I'm saying this as a compliment. But Hamilton Piano to me is like the #1 music store in Palm Beach County. I mean, there's Bob's Pianos, there's Guitar Center, there's others out there which are great, but in my mind, in my world, like there's Hamilton Piano. There's no there's no company like you out there.
Thank you. I think what we do to set ourselves apart is service first. I got into rebuilding and tuning and all of that before selling pianos. And then, and some of the work that we do at our shop, there's less than maybe 50 people in the country that actually do what we do. And some of the stuff we do, nobody does, because I'm the president of the Piano Technicians Guild for all of South Florida. And I go to PTG conventions, and I know a lot of technicians. I talk to them from all over the country, even some all over the world. I've had some come to the shop. And when I tell them what we do, they are blown away, because even those shops don't do that in-house. They have to send that out to be done. And that's because I wanted everything in the shop so we could have a quality control with it. And no, because I've had to send stuff out before and not happy with what came back, and which makes my life harder. And so I said, well, we're going to learn how to do this. Some stuff took us 5 years to get down, 6, 7, 8 years to get down, but we kept sticking with it. And there's other projects too that we're still doing, that we're still in the process of figuring it out, how this is done, so that this way we don't have to worry about parts that we can't get, that we can do it ourselves. We have all the machinery between a CNC machine and a 3D printer. And I have a very, very good crew. My staff I'm very, very blessed to have them. And so between all of us, we talk about it, we figure it out, and, we keep moving on.
I love that. And it's such a musician's attitude, because as a musician myself, I don't build pianos, I don't tune them, but I'm always, and I'm not only a teacher, I'm also a student, right? I'm always wanting to better myself. Like, I'm my biggest competition. So it's like, what can I learn more? How can I do better? How can I be of service, let's say, to my students, and be a better teacher? So I love that attitude, and I love that you have a great crew. I know you have a lot of family that works with you, and you're very tight knit, and all that you do for the community. I know you had mentioned you were looking at maybe building more, in which you already mentioned, but you have so many pianos. I'm kind of getting off the subject, but you have so many pianos that I believe last time we talked, when I was at your warehouse, you had said that you had almost, well, I don't know, but you had storage units with pianos in it still.
Don't remind me. I've got over 9 storage units. I have 9 storage units full of pianos. And some are for customers, because we do store a lot of pianos, and the rest are all mine. So, but I look at it this way: when I purchase a piano, a half a dozen people are going to make money on that piano. So, because by the time we have to string it, rebuild the action, refinish it, polish the hardware, so on and so forth, 6 people all can make money off of that piano. So if I've got 300 people, there's a minimum of 10 years worth of work for everybody here if we never had another customer job. But that's why I have so many, is because we're so busy doing customer jobs, we can't get to my own pianos. And when I was first getting into the business, because my dad had gotten sick, that's why I got into tuning. My dad had collected like 30, 35 pianos. And I said, well, that's never going to happen to me. I want to buy one, get it done, and move on. And of course, what my father taught me was just do good work and you'll always be busy. And that is true, because we're always busy. So it's hard to get ours done. But yes, I have a piano problem. I admit it. I have a piano problem. But yeah, it's one of those things. But that's how I look at it too. It's better than kind of having money in the bank, because it's future work for people, and it's an income coming back in the back end.
So with that being said, for listeners that are listening in that maybe have a piano, now I mentioned storage. However, there are people out there that have their piano maybe sitting in a garage, or sitting in a non-air conditioned storage unit, or sitting in a basement, depending what state they're in the country. So could you share a little bit with our listeners about how important it is to how important the weather is, how would I say it? weather affects the piano. So
yeah, so Florida, of course, we have so much humidity out there, and 80% of the piano is made of wood, so it will accept that humidity and it will cause problems. So the two biggest things that you have to, well, I would say three things. One, you have to protect the piano by having it in a climatized storage unit or in your home, and the AC on to help keep the humidity down. Two would be having a dehumidifier system inside the piano, because that it will evaporate the humidity and moisture from getting to it, and that prolongs the life of the piano. And three is tuning it regularly, because unfortunately sometimes the piano becomes mistaken as a piece of furniture, and it's not. It's a musical instrument, and it has to be. A piano is happier when it is tuned and serviced properly. It will start to act up when it's not done. It's like what happens when you don't change the oil in your car. Well, you're going to start having some knocking noises. You're going to have some problems. It's kind of the same thing with the piano. And it's actually the least cost the least to maintain product in your home, because you only have to tune it down here in Florida once or twice a year. So it's not something drastic.
Yeah, I've learned to be the twice a year person, and it's important. I mean, it does make a difference. I hear the difference in playing and in my piano. And one of the I don't know if you know Zaya's Music Studios in Jupiter. Oh, yeah. They always get their piano tunes frequently too, and it just makes a big difference.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but like you're right, because commercial settings, you have to tune it more often. Whether it's a school or a church, concert halls. My concert halls, I tune the piano before rehearsal and after rehearsal, before the concert. And then you do in schools or restaurants or churches, you do have to tune it more often, just because it's getting more than normal use, within a time frame.
So call me out on this if this is too silly, but a lot of people go out and listen to music, and a lot of it might, or not all of it, is piano. A lot of times it's guitar. 9 times out of 10, you will frequently see a guitarist sitting there adjusting their strings, maybe because they need to tighten an E or an A, or because they can hear that it's off. So the same similar terminology applies to the piano because of the strings inside the piano. For the audiences out there, if you have not seen the inside of a piano, please make an effort to get out there and look inside the piano, because it's just so amazing.
You can see as many as you like at my facility. We give free tours, through our shop of, the inside and out of a piano. You get to see things you've never seen before. We have very rare pianos here sometimes. And yes, tuning a guitar is a lot easier than tuning a piano. There are 6 strings compared to almost 220. And a piano has 20 tons of tension when it's at perfect pitch, which is A440. So, sometimes I have to stay for a concert, and during intermission, I go out and I have to touch up, a few unisons here or there during the concert, just to make sure everything is okay. But for the most part, the tunings hold very well. But there are some artists that are phenomenal, and they beat on the piano, and it's like, oh, okay, great. But that's what we do. That's our job.
So can we ask, like, what is, or who has impressed you the most in your years, or maybe most recent years, as far as an artist or celebrity? Who has impressed you? Who's been like an inspiration to you?
There are. That would be a whole nother episode. I have a long list. Billy Joel is super nice. John Bon Jovi, super nice. Renee Fleming, she's very nice. We have hundreds of autographed pictures of artists on our wall, and I have 4 photo albums, very thick, of autographs. I work for Live Nation, so I do a lot of the other big bands, like Bruce Springsteen, U2, Norah Jones, the Eagles. And so I have I've been very fortunate that I've heard some horror stories, with some technicians and artists, and I have had a few myself, very minor ones, through the years. But I've been very fortunate that, I was trained by not just my family, but some Steinway technicians and other technicians, and they helped me be the technician that I am today. So, something arises, it's a pretty well, we know how to take care of it, because concert work's completely different than in-home tunings and work. But if a problem arises, which things do, a string breaks, what are you going to do? Well,
Right.
you can't really replace it because the string's not going to stay in tune, because a new string under that tension is not going to stay in tune for the concert. So you have to do what's called splicing a string, and that's very difficult to do. We actually had our last Piano Technicians Guild class, we taught a class on that, and there was a lot of bloody fingers from everybody trying to tie a string, and it's difficult. It really is. So, but there's just certain things, with the concert work, that you're trying to tune a piano while they're doing sound checks, or someone's wailing on the guitar and checking that out. So it's a whole different world. Yeah.
And is it pretty much in range as far as the vibration, the frequency of your tuning? I mean, they say the 432 is the best tuning to be at. I know, like, my piano is 440, but do you have a range of what you like to tune your keys at?
So perfect pitch is A440. That's what's standard for the United States. A432 has come up recently, in the last probably a decade or so, where that's more in harmony with the earth and it sounds better. So I've had some artists want me to tune it to that, which I have done. European orchestras or European artists prefer A442 because that's their standard. One of my concert halls, the Society of the Four Arts in Palm Beach, we have a 9-foot Hamburg Steinway there, and I keep that at A4. Yeah, it's a beautiful piano. It's one of my favorites, and I keep that at A441. So this way, it's right in the middle. So at least if it's a European artist, it's not too far from 442, and it's not too far for the American artists, to keep it there, because pitch raising and pitch lowering a piano back and forth to change the pitches, we were doing that for years, and it wasn't good for the piano. So we keep it at A441 at that hall.
Okay. All right. And at your place right now at the warehouse, I don't know if this is a fair question, Tobias, because I understand before I'm even asking, out of all the pianos you have in-house right now, right? Mm-hmm. If someone were to walk in, do you have a favorite that you go to right away, or do you have several favorites that you would bring a piano player to first, or you just try them all?
No, I've got some favorites, of course. I mean, you're going to have your higher quality instruments and your lesser quality instruments. It's just the way that it is, because there's different price points. Your higher quality ones cost more, of course. We have a beautiful Schimmel in here. That's a gorgeous sound. We have a Petroff that's very, very nice. And usually your European pianos are what sounds the best, and that's what I like the best personally. But that's why when we rebuild a piano, we put German parts in. We have custom German strings made. We put German hammers in, German action parts, because that's the best sound that, in my opinion, you can get from a piano. And once those parts all gel, as good as the piano sounds when we first rebuild it, it sounds very, very good. But as it ages, after a new soundboard is in and the strings and everything, and once everything starts to gel together and it ages 3, 4, 5 years, the piano sounds even better, believe it or not. So it's just one of those things that's why we use German parts. But yes, there are some that I do direct, and I show customers the rebuilds that we're doing now. For instance, we had someone in yesterday that wants to rebuild a piano, so I showed them a couple of Steinways that we have that we're doing, and so I told them gives you an idea of what your piano is going to sound like if you decide to have us do it.
Nice. Now, this is, again, maybe a silly question, but there are different manufacturers of cars out there, right? So you have, like you mentioned, the German pieces to European piano. So you have cars that are made in China, cars that are made in Germany, cars that are made in America. They each have different parts. I mean, similar parts, but they're made in different countries, or they're made a little differently. So can we say that it's safe to assume that depending on whether it is a Baldwin or a Steinway or a Wurlitzer or a Yamaha, they have similar parts, but they're made by different manufacturers or different countries?
Yeah, even different from different origins, they'll still use different parts. It could be, you can have a Japanese piano with German parts in it, where they are selling a brand new piano, but because they put these higher quality parts in. So the new manufacturers do that also. And you will have different characteristics between the pianos. So a Yamaha is a lot of people say, oh, I'm not a fan of this piano because it's like this, and I like this one, I don't like this. And of course, everyone's got their opinions. But for me, it's, you got to go by the individual personality of the piano itself. Because just because, let's say it's a Yamaha, doesn't mean it's going to be brassy and bright. This one, you could find one that's rich and warm sounding, and that's the one that will suit your needs, because touch and tone are the two most important parts when you're looking to buy a piano.
Okay. All right. And, I mentioned earlier in the show, I've known you for a long time. I don't know you, but we've interacted in the piano world. And today, having you on the show, again, I'm thanking you. And I'm also expressing, I love that your attitude is about the service to the customers. You're not about the sale point. There's, let's say, a $70,000 piano. I've seen them, and you're not about the price tag. You're about what fits, what fits with the musician, what fits right for them, where they're happy. And that's such a valuable trait that you have as a business owner, and that you have as in the music world. And again, I love that you're on the show today, and I hope people that are listening come and visit you, or at least call and schedule a time to come and check out the pianos, and maybe try one or two, or see what works for them.
Or just take a free tour. Just come in if you already have a piano, you can either upgrade it, or if you want to change the color, or whatever you want to do, or just come in and take a tour just to get a better understanding of what goes into it. Because that's our job, is to educate, so that if you're looking to buy a piano, you want to know what you're getting into, because we've had so many horror stories of something as simple as this. A customer buys a piano, we go to pick it up, and we can't move it because it has termites. So we can't even put it in our truck. We won't do it. We won't take that risk. So, and that's just one small thing that could happen that could be wrong with a piano.
Okay. So I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No.
Okay. So for our musicians out there that have a piano, and don't mind my cats, they're just passing by. Let's say it's in an air-conditioned place, a home or studio, wherever. What is the best way to keep a piano clean? Because if you go and you buy all the oils to spray the piano all the time, eventually that stuff builds up and it damages the wood. Do you have a secret that you'd like to share with us about how to keep your in-home piano or your studio piano clean?
So for internally, technicians like we have 7 of us that are out on the road, can do the internal cleaning. That you do not want to mess with, because you could cause a problem. But externally, we do have a solution that we use for every piano is different. You have your satin finishes and your high polish finishes. So we have a product that we use for the high polish, but ebony, pianos. Satin, you could use just a very lightly damp cloth, maybe some mineral spirits, but you have to be very careful, because if you're not careful, you could cause a bigger problem. A lot of people use Windex for high polished pianos. Do not do that. That is going to make it worse. There's many times we look at the piano and you can see the streak marks and you can see everything, and we know that was used. For natural finish pianos like yours, you could use Old English. They have light, medium, dark. Yours looks like medium to dark kind of tone. So you could use something like that, and you don't just pour it on. You just take a little bit and kind of rub it on there. But for the most part, just dry dusting it and very, very lightly damp cloth for the most part. But those are some of the things that you can use. Spray and shine is something you can use too for high polish finishes. You just really, you want to have a professional do it. Some pianos can't be wiped down. They literally have to be buffed like you buff a car. We do that all the time to the high polish finishes to bring that luster back. So there's many different techniques with the outside of keeping it clean, but those are a few little minor things that you can do.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Good to know. And I also want to mention MTNA, the Music Teachers National Association. I know that you've opened your facility for us. I mean, you know, I'm on the board, but you support the community and you support music teachers, no matter whether you're on our listeners, whether you're on MTNA or whether you're a music teacher that is working in a school. It doesn't matter what you're connected to. If you're out there teaching, you're out there in music and sharing your talents and doing what you do best. I mean, Hamilton Piano is the best place to go and check out the pianos, as well as Tobias, let me ask you, do you have some upcoming events for the community?
I think we have a couple recitals coming up. You know, we don't have really any events ourselves, but some of our concert halls do, like Glacier Hall that just opened up. They've got a lot of really good events coming up. You know, but we don't personally, I mean, we give the tours on a whim, you know, so that's not like kind of scheduled. When someone comes in, we just had a family come in a couple of weeks ago and they called me today and said, hey, can I bring my dad in and show him around? I said, sure. So, you know, showed them around. And but we do have a couple recitals coming up for the teachers. But eventually when we do add on to the building and we have a recital hall, we're going to be able to do bigger, better things, especially with some of my concert artist friends. And then also having a recording studio so that kids can do their recordings to get into either Bach or Dreyfus or college or whatever. That's another way that we can give back to the community, because this business has been very good to my family and to everyone that's associated with it. So we do try to give back in any way that we can with those kind of things. You know, we've donated pianos too, you know, for charities.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. Now, you're not, so I know you're not on the same street, but you're not that far from G-Star also.
Actually, we are in the same street. Yeah, it's funny you said that, because he probably left already. About 10 minutes before the show, a student came in. He goes, I walk past this store every day. Can I check? Can I look around? I said, yeah, go ahead, play whatever you want. You know, have fun. And then I had to do this, of course, with you. But yeah, it was funny you said that, because a student just came in before the show.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Please tell our listeners again where you're located, for those that are just listening that aren't watching, and how do they reach you?
Sure. So you can, we're at 1656 South Congress Avenue, West Palm Beach, Florida, 33406. You can call us at any time at 561-965-8090. You can reach out to us at info@hamiltonpianoco.com. So info@hamiltonpianoco.com. We do a lot of videos. So we have a lot of social media things on Facebook and YouTube, but we also have a podcast called Hamilton Happy Hour. We've had a lot of guests on. That's what I can't wait to have you on ours next. But we have Hamilton Happy Hour, which is a podcast where we've had singers, technicians, concert artists, all different types of guests on our show, and it's a lot of fun.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. Thank you. With that being said, I have to pick on you. So I saw your Instagram post from the happy hour, and it had me laughing. And I hope you don't mind me picking on you and maybe resharing it. But you had mentioned the time that Bon Jovi came into the studio and you were in the middle of working. Can you reshare that story, because it's just too funny?
Yeah. So I am in the bigger part of my shop, and my electrician was here, and I had him on my forklift. He was up to the ceiling working on the electric, and so Cheryl, who's my oldest friend, I've known her since 7th grade. She runs the office. She walks in and she goes, "John Bon Jovi's here to buy a piano." I said, "Yeah, right." She goes, "John Bon Jovi's here to buy a piano." I said, "Bye, Steve," and I said, "I'll be right back." So I walk in, and he's in with his wife, super nice. And they picked out a Yamaha piano, and he says, "I want to put it in my office. And if it doesn't fit, would you take it back?" I said, "Sure." So we bring it to his house, put it in his office, fit perfectly. He loved it. Everything was great. So 2 weeks later, I went to give him his free tuning. And while after I'm done tuning it, I play it. And he walks in and he says, "So what are you doing there?" And I said, "Well, I'm doing this and this and this." And I'm like, "I'm showing Bon Jovi how to play the piano. This is really cool." And I said, "John, do you want to try it?" He goes, "I'm just learning, but yeah." So he sits down and he starts playing, and he was writing a song for his daughter's wedding. And I'm pretty sure the wedding already happened because I don't want to spoil anything. But long story short, he was writing a song for his daughter's wedding, and I was getting chills because I was hearing the lyrics. He had a few verses and the chords, and I was like, "Man, John, how do you do that?" And he goes, "It's the piano," and he's tapping the piano. "It's the piano. It's the piano." And I thanked him for the autograph he gave me, because he gave me a really cool autograph that we have hanging up on the wall. And he says, "Thanks for the next hit machine." And I said, "John, thank you very much. That's a really good picture." And he goes, "Yeah, I thought you'd like that. That was in my office. So that's why I gave it to you."
Aww,
So super nice guy, him and his wife. And I've got a lot of other stories too with artists. That I've been fortunate enough to work with, and some have picked out pianos for their friends from us, some rent pianos from us, and you get, it's like there's a connection, not just between the technician and the artist, but you also have to have that with the piano teachers, because we need you, like you guys need us. We need you to be teaching to keep our business going too. So it's a win-win-win all the way around. And without you guys, there wouldn't be any piano shops, and then we're here to being able to service y'all's customers. So it's a win-win-win.
Yes, I agree. And I also agree with Bon Jovi. It's the piano, because there's pianos I've played. You know this very well. There's pianos I played where it's just like flat and just not doing anything. But then there's other pianos where I'm like, "Oh my God, I don't know where this is coming from, but it just sounds beautiful." So
and it's the artist too that brings out the piano, because it can be magic when you have an artist that's on stage and it's just him and the piano, and he is the one that they become one, and it can be magical. And how I look at it is, he's the NASCAR driver, we're the pit crew, and we got to make sure that instrument is up to par, so that there aren't any problems, when the artist is playing, because once again, between 9,000 and 14,000 parts at any given time, something can be wrong.
Right. And you mentioned Billy Joel before, being super nice, and he is super nice. He was just in Wellington. In fact, I'm going to say he crashed the party, but friends of mine were playing on stage, and he ended up going up there on stage to play with them. So I don't know if you heard about that. I'm sure you did.
I did, and I was like, "Oh man, he was so close to coming to my shop," because he's gonna pass by us to get there.
Right.
He is very nice. Him and his wife, and it's nice to work for artists that are as good as they are. Like Copeland Davis, he's an excellent pianist.
I love Copeland Davis. I know him. Yeah.
Him and I are very good friends, and to be able to work with these artists, and it's a language too, because you have to, they try to explain what they want out of the piano, and it's the technician's job to try to figure it out, and sometimes that's really hard. It's not the same English language, but when you have the artist that is, I have noticed in my career that the bigger the artist, the easier they are to work with. It's the smaller fish that are trying to be the big fish. They're trying to make it, that give people problems. That's just what I've come up with. I could just be me, but everybody's different. But it's so important that the artist is comfortable with the instrument and with the technician.
Sure.
And there's many stories about that I'm sure a lot of concert techs out in the world can share their stories. So, but it's important, to have the relationship with the artist and also with the teachers, because it's that, once again, trifecta of win-win-win.
Right. And you mentioned it's, and I'm just going to go off a little bit on it. It's a different world. It's a different religion. It's a different, not a religion, but it's a different, if you're a musician, you get it. And if you're in this world, you understand it's just a different language.
Mm-hmm.
And as a music teacher, it's, to understand the language and grow on that. It's just amazing what flourishes, because there's never any end to it. And that's the beauty of having a real instrument and learning on a real instrument. And even if you have to start out on digital, that's fine, but getting to work on a real piano, and there's nothing like it.
You're absolutely right. And the thing is don't stop. My father always told me repetition is the key to all skill. Of course, the more you do it, the easier it gets. But if you don't stop like I did and you keep going, I tell the students that come into the shop, I promise you, if you stick with it, it will get easier, and you will, 20 years from now, you could be at your house and you have a piano, or someone else's house, and you got a gathering, a party, whatever, and you sit down and start playing the piano. I guarantee everyone's going to flock to hear you play the piano, because not everybody can do it. It's not an easy instrument, but in the long run, it gets easier. And if you just stick with it, it makes you smarter. It's a proven fact, because you're getting your left hand to do something different than your right. So it fires neurons in your brain that most people do not use. So especially as children growing up, they took a survey of CEOs and presidents of Fortune 500 companies. And the one thing they all had in common, they all took piano lessons. Amazing. And so it's a proven fact, that it does make you a smarter person. It disciplines you. It gives you patience. You just got to stick with it. That's the hardest thing.
Yes. Well, we're just about out of time. Tobias, thank you so much for being here with us today. And I'd love to have you on again another time. We could talk more about some of your experiences that you've had with clients, and more about different pianos. I would love to get more into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
Yes. All right. Well, any last words before we?
I appreciate you having me on very much. Once again, anybody has any questions, you know where to reach us, and that's what we're here for. We're here to educate and do what we can. And I will say this. I'm not saying this because it's my shop, but it'll be worth coming here. We've had people from all over the country come to the shop to see us, and it's worth the trip, because you get to see something you've never seen before. So it is something very unique and special. And I'm not just saying that because it's my shop. That's what people tell me. So
it's true. It's true. Well, thank you, Tobias, and you and I will talk more about your podcast and about having you back on the show.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right. We'll talk in a little bit. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm so glad that you've been listening in. Any questions, you can reach Tobias at Hamilton Piano Company in West Palm Beach. And with that being said, I seem to say that a lot, I've noticed, but I love that we've had this opportunity to share with you today. And tune in next week to find out who my guest is and to help me keep music alive. And in the meantime, I'm going to end on a couple notes on my piano.